As reported last week, Senate Bill 18 was voted out of committee. This bill was actually reported from committee this week and set on the Senate intent calendar. We anticipate it coming to the Senate floor very soon. This bill continues to gain support and now has 24 co-authors counting Senator Estes. We hope this broad support will result in the bill moving quickly through the rest of the process. Senate Bill 2222, Senate Bill 2223, both by Senator Van de Putte, and Senate Bill 2439 by Senator Uresti, regulate land around military bases. These bills were all voted out of committee this last week and are set on the intent calendar for the Senate floor. We were successful in getting the authors to accept language exempting agriculture. So if the bills do eventually pass, agriculture will be protected. Senate Bill 2534 by Senator Whitworth was reported favorably from the Senate Natural Resources Committee this week. This bill creates a task force on economic growth and endangered species. This is a really good bill because it looks at providing incentives instead of regulations to property owners. A lot of property groups supported this bill in that committee, including Comptroller Susan Combs. She testified on the bill as well. This is the method we would prefer to help military bases continue their operations without infringing on property owners' rights, but instead providing incentives to help those endangered species that they'd like to protect.
Each of the two Text.Sunset bills were heard before each of the committees, the House and Senate versions, this past week. The House version that was originally authored by Carl Isett from Lubbock was modified completely. In its place, the Transportation Committee Chairman Joe Pickett from El Paso introduced a committee substitute. I want to highlight the specifics of that regarding the Transportation Commission. His version would maintain a 5-person commission as it exists today. However, the membership, the appointments for the members would be modified. First and foremost, 3 of the committee members would be appointed by the governor with the consent of the Senate. One of those 3 would need to be residing in rural Texas. The second is that the governor needs to consider an appointment from a list that is compiled by the Speaker of the House. And finally, the Lieutenant Governor gets to appoint somebody onto the Transportation Commission. His version calls for staggered 6-year terms, which again is similar to the way the commission is compiled today. The Senate version, introduced by Senator Glenn Hager, had 46 amendments in the committee during its reconsideration. One in particular, offered by Senator Nichols, directly dealt with the composition of the Transportation Commission. His amendment would call for a 3-person commission, which were all appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. This is the way it used to be before its current existing 5-person commission. In that, it would call for one of those 3 members to reside in rural Texas, and they would serve a staggered 6-year term. So obviously these sunset bills are changing weekly. They're going to continue to change before each of them get onto the respected floors, both the Senate and the House, and we expect many more amendments to be offered on the floor, some of which Farm Bureau is directly involved with, to try to make sure that some of our intended goals for this session are still met before the process is said and done. Lastly, I want to highlight HB 207 by Representative Jim Jackson from Carrollton. His bill would have allowed for county sheriffs or deputy sheriffs to enforce certain commercial motor vehicle weight laws. Now, Farm Bureau is very specific in our policy that we call only for state or federal Department of Transportation officers to enforce weight laws. As such, we opposed HB 207 in its original form and worked with other members of the House to make them aware of our opposition, and fortunately that bill was defeated 100 to 20.